Men, do you want a masculine woman? Women, do you want an effeminate man? Does it matter? Check out this clip, y'all, on Nino Reacts. Let's go.
Let's start the feminism
Go
conversation.
ahead.
First of all, do you feel that feminism has ruined men and women? Because I do.
Interesting. What are your thoughts, y'all? Let us know in the comments.
It's helped with their ruination.
Okay, so what do you think the negative impact of, I use the phrase modern feminism, but the more research I do, the more I find that feminism, as I thought was well-intentioned, often wasn't.
Yes.
And the destruction of the family was at the core of a lot of what was going on, even, way back in the day.
It's kind of funny or interesting how this woman, and I love this channel, it's great. I've barely discovered it today, but like this woman and even Andrew Tate to a certain extent, like their ideas are based on morality and I would say the Bible, right? So that's a common thread I believe that I see is very interesting with people like this. They make very great points that it's basically biblical based, ideas and ways of living, yet they don't portray it like that. But I think there's a root of biblical way of life that they are basically, expressing with these thoughts and opinions, y'all. Very interesting.
But what do you think the negative effect has been first on women?
Yes. Wow, there's so many ways to go into this one. I would say fundamentally, what has happened is both men and women have been brainwashed and propagandized into believing that there is something inherently wrong with a man being masculine and a woman being feminine.
And to be honest, y'all, just my opinion, my stance, the way me and my wife choose to live our lives, right, is basically I'm the husband, I'm the father, I'm the leader. My wife submits to her godly husband. I know y'all don't even want to hear that word submit, some of you ladies and men, but I'm telling you, this has become a great way to live and the perfect foundation for our family, and it works just perfectly, regardless of what the naysayers may say. Let's go.
So I'd say that it's brainwashed people to go against their biology and go against their nature and their natural God-given inclinations and tendencies and ways of being. And it's forced women into a masculine frame.
I'm telling you, I was talking to libertydragon earlier, and basically that's what he was saying too, that women have become more masculine. I wouldn't say because they were forced to, but maybe to a certain degree they were, or it was unnaturally natural for them to be more masculine due to men being more effeminate.
Whilst also taking men out of their natural masculine frame. And with that comes a huge number of problems on every level, from the political to the social to the cultural to the individual to, I'd even say, health, right? Because the truth is, men and women are different, first of all. So something that's most confusing about this age that we live in is the mixed messaging and the contradictory messaging. So in the modern Western world, you're simultaneously supposed to believe that men and women are essentially the same, but also very different, and also just social constructs, and neither one really exists.
Oh, that's my favorite.
You're supposed to, but you're supposed to believe them simultaneously.
Right.
So depending on what the situation is, I'm supposed to act like men and women are literally the same. Like we're exactly the same.
Right.
We have the same interests. We have the same way that we process our emotions and use reason and logic. We're physically capable of exactly the same things. But then also I'm supposed to believe that, it's very different because men are actually all part of the patriarchy and women are oppressed and are this victim class. But also you ask, what is a woman? And they're like, a woman is anyone who identifies as a woman. A man can be a woman can be a man, a woman can have a penis, a man can have a vagina, a man can get pregnant and have, and it's like, clearly, anyone who knows basic logic knows that all these things cannot be true.
But in this day and age, biblically, the Bible says, woe to those that call evil good and good evil. It's backwards. It's not hard to see that this is just common sense, just is not that common anymore, ladies and gentlemen.
The truth is that obviously men and women are different. We're the same species, so we have much more in common generally than we have different. But the differences are extraordinarily important. Without those differences, all of us actually cease to exist. None of us could exist if these fundamental differences didn't apply. We're a sexually dimorphic species. And we understand this. And men are typically drawn to the feminine qualities and traits in a woman, just like women are typically drawn to the masculine characteristics in men.
Common sense. It's just general knowledge, right? Like, I love my wife to be feminine, to be, to be a woman, to act like a woman, right? That's just me stating my opinion, the obvious, right? Don't ban me, YouTube, but you know what I'm saying? Basically, I would even say this. Men want a princess. Men want a woman that's going to act like a woman, right? And let the man act and be the man in the relationship, y'all. Hey, but in America 2023, that idea is kind of obsolete if you look at the mainstream media and the way Hollywood and everything else tries to portray this whole situation. That, it's basically a God-ordained situation. Man, woman, family, you know what I'm saying? You know the rest.
But people are being brainwashed into thinking that there's something wrong with that.
Yep.
Something wrong with that, right? If you're a woman and you don't want to compete with men on every level and in every sphere and in every sector, right? Then that's a problem. Maybe you're a sellout, or you have internalized misogyny or whatever. If you're a man,
I never ever heard of the word misogyny, however else they say it, y'all. I've only been heard of that word within the last 2 or 3 years, y'all. Straight up, I never even knew what that word meant. I'm a simple man.
Got all the code words.
Yeah, if you're a man and you really want to, you're very much in your masculine frame, you're probably toxic, or you're probably sexist somehow, or you're a misogynist, or you're this, or you're that.
I think the real toxic men, right? A toxic masculinity, I don't even believe that's even can even be put together, right? You're either masculine or you're not. But basically, I think the real toxic men, I've heard this today and I agree, I saw in a video somewhere, the toxic male is the nice guy. The guy that's not going to stand up for his family, not going to be a manly or anything. That's actually the toxic man, right? The one that acts or doesn't portray masculine qualities. He's a real toxic person, and he's usually the nice guy, the good guy, the one that gets ran all over, that is not willing to protect his family whatsoever. Basically, the weenie, the beta, however else you want to say it.
And it just creates a lot of unnecessary conflict and confusion. And downstream, this, as I said before, everything leads to depopulation, right? It reduces the probability that males and females are going to couple up and reproduce and actually get on with each other. I think that the differences between, I don't just acknowledge that there are differences between men and women. I celebrate the fact there are differences between men and women. I think that's what, like, one of the most beautiful things about the human species and in society. I don't look at women as some type of defective men, and it would be wrong to look at men as some type of defective women, or look at little boys and all their energy and their behaviors and think, oh, you should be more like girls. We need to change you. There's something fundamentally wrong with you, to the point you're even putting people on drugs. We need to change your natural state of being to conform to this weird box, and it just leads to a lot of misery. And I think that nowadays, so much talk of mental health and depression and anxiety and this and that and trauma, and it's like there would be a lot less of that if people were not constantly sold on BS narratives that go completely against nature. I would argue go against God, go against everything that we know to be true. I'm very much in favor of egalitarian laws, right? As in, whether you're a man or a woman or whatever, in terms of the opportunities that you have and the things that you're able to pursue, I'm very much in favor of cool. Like, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. However, we know, because men and women are different, if you give people freedom of choice, they're not all going to make the same decisions. They're going to make very different decisions on an individual level. We know this. I mean, even if you have siblings or people in the same family, they don't all end up in the same careers and doing the same jobs and earning the same money, having the same hobbies, interests. That's on a family level where you share genetics. So why on earth would someone expect that if you expand this out to hundreds of millions or billions of people, that you're going to get the exact same thing. It's why it's so goofy when they're trying to do there's only 30% women in this thing, or we need more women in right. It's so goofy. It's so stupid, because that's not how it works. You can either have the freedom, or you can force people in some type of fake equity, but you can't have both.
Wow. Women have internalized a lot of those differences to mean weakness. So I think what happened was women were lectured, from the Gloria Steinems of the world, from the feminists, and told, you have to compete with a man, otherwise you are the weaker sex.
Wow.
And I think we internalize that. So rather than look at what makes a woman beautiful, femininity is now thought of as weak. So, I grew up not wanting to be the Sarah Connor from Terminator 1. I wanted to be the Sarah Connor from Terminator 2, because I had internalized a lot of that feminism, where it was like, no, I need to be doing the pull-ups. I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that. The reality is she needed that machine gun, by the way. So, it's you internalize a lot of these things. We got that question earlier where someone asked about, how do you embrace that femininity? I think you really have to sit back as a woman and recognize that even if you're pro-life, even if you're not towing the line of the hard left feminists, myself included, we have internalized a lot of these ideals. And I myself had to sit and say, why did I for so many years view femininity as weak? Because I was told that it was weak. And I was told that I need to be able to go to the gym with the likes of Zuby. And if I can't kick your butt, I'm doing something wrong. When instead, the message should be like what I think about now. I went, the other day, my husband and I worked out. My husband is such a badass. He's fit, he's strong. I tell women, I love health and wellness. Get in the best shape you can for yourself. Be fit, be healthy, and then be lucky enough to have a man next to you who can run rings around you physically. Because that is he is your best weapon against the matrix.
Wow.
That's not telling women, you're weak. That's saying in this particular area, just know the differences. And you know what? When it comes time to have a baby, you're going to be that superhero. You're going to be able to carry that child and nurture that child and give life to that child and grow that baby's fingers and toes. And somehow women have been taught that being able to have a child, you're not a superhero for doing that.
Oh gosh, it's even the opposite. It's not just, it's actually an inversion.
It's like you're maligned. Yeah.
An inversion, right? And who has told us this? Who has put that out there that it's wrong for a woman to be a woman and a man to be a man? But great point she said, right? The woman should be the best she can be, right? And then have a man that's being all he can be, and together, right? They become the power couple, the real power couple. You really reach that point in life where you and your spouse are just, man, it reminds me of me and my wife. Once we really got our roles situated, as far as I'm the husband, I'm the leader, she's the wife, she's the mother, she runs the house, she has the kids in line. Basically, I go work, provide, bring home the bacon. Basically, once we started living like this, y'all, and actually knowing our roles, our God-given roles, I'm telling you, everything else fell into place perfectly, y'all. They're explaining this in further detail, but I'm telling you, y'all, this world has made people think that it's wrong for a woman to love their man, to serve their man, to submit to their man. Amen. When the Bible clearly tells us what role the man has and what role the woman has. It's simple.
Yeah, it's an inversion. That's a burden, right? Everything is from, birth control to abortion to this to that. It's all, again, like I said, it's actually forcing women into the masculine framing that, to you're kind of defective because you've got the capacity to, get pregnant and breastfeed and whatever. So actually, so you can compete with men, not cooperate. So you can compete with men, we need to neuter these biological functions. This biological function, this thing that creates life. The
most
is the reason we're
beautiful
all
thing.
here. Yeah, like that's something we need to neuter and take out of the equation. And to me, that is
wow.
Of course, people are going to make arguments from liberty perspectives and rights and this and that. But I'm like, man, if you think of what that fundamentally is, to me, that's not. I don't see any empowerment there.
Mm-hmm.
It actually takes your power away, right? Like they basically want to make you a victim. Replace, what God has given us as something virtuous and awesome and beautiful, and made it seem like that's a crutch, right? Like that's a hindrance, right? It's wild that this is the way that society is, ladies and gentlemen, but that's just the reality of America in 2023.
I don't see any empowerment there, and it's all this frame. It's all masculine framing. That's actually why
Wow.
it's so funny, because you've got all these these feminists and they're rah, and it's like you're all obsessed with the masculine framing. They themselves are trying to force females to compete with men in all of these areas. And look, on a basic level, men and women are meant to be cooperative. Right? We're all the same species. You need both sexes to create new life and to have families and to have balance in society. We're not supposed to be at each other's throats all the time and fighting each other. Like, that's not how it's supposed to be. And I think millions of people have just been brainwashed into this competitive framing. I don't view women as my competition at all in like anything.
No way.
Really. Like I don't. I'm just
we would be some sad company. I mean, in the areas of like physical, I mean, and you became famous. For people who don't know, you became famous. Tell people the story about how with the deadlift.
Okay.
For people who don't know, because
Yeah.
it's interesting,
Yeah. So back in February 2019, I broke the British women's deadlift record. I said that I identified as a woman while I was lifting the weight. And
Let me ask you, how hard was it for you to do that?
not very.
There you go.
Not
So
very.
but see, women have now internalized, like if I'm a feminist and I'm sitting here and I hear you say that, I've been programmed to be triggered by that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm somehow supposed to be upset that
Yup.
wasn't hard for you. And that means I'm not doing my job. I'm supposed to be working harder. And they don't accept the reality that it doesn't matter how hard I work biologically. I am not designed to beat you at deadlifting.
No.
It's not going
Right.
to happen.
No.
So maybe I
And it's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
can beat you at
Trust the science.
something else, like giving birth to a baby, but I'm not going to beat you at deadlifting. And I just, it's actually, when you talk about frame, and I know the audience is very familiar with that, I see an increasing number, we show panels here all the time, an increasing number of men in a feminine frame and women in a masculine frame,
Yes.
and
Wow.
none of them are happy.
No.
They all look
It
miserable.
leads to misery.
If you want to watch the full episode,
Wow. Great clip, y'all. I really love this channel. Again, on Nino Reacts. We're going to leave it right here in the description, y'all. It's stuff like this that makes you really like just question reality, or just question the narrative, or what the media and Hollywood and the elite push upon the people. What is wrong with a woman getting pregnant and having a baby and being the mother in the household, and the husband being a man, provider, protector? What is wrong with this? It's worked for so long. Feminism, y'all. Wicked. In this day and age, it's inverted, like the gentleman said on this clip. Woe to those that call good evil and evil good. You're an American. You're a patriot. You got grit. Act like it. I'm out.